Can you hear me now? Now? Got it? Should I start over? So a couple more cuts. Now, I want you to pay attention to something here. When I get down to finishing this box, I've got one shot to get to those 3 points. How do I know where my tool is? Well, as I make these couple more practice cuts, listen to my tool, the wood on the tool. Tick, 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 tick. I'll be cutting wood, cutting air, cutting wood, cutting air. Well, if I ride my bevel on where I've already cut, and I start bringing my tool back to myself and I stop hearing something, that means I can advance that tool about a 1/16 of an inch and start my cut, and I know exactly where I am. Does that make sense? So here we go. There's that sound. No sound, advance. And I ride that bevel from start to finish. We should be shy of those lines, yeah. We are, so we're in good shape. I'm going to switch over and start working on the bottom of the box. First I'll do is get rid of these 3 points and then these 3 points, and I'm going to start a spherical shape on the bottom. Also, I have to keep in mind, I need a tenon in here so I can hold on to this and hollow it out later. So I get rid of the back 3 points first. Now I'm going to come up to the front 3 points. Again, like I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with turning your lathe off and checking your progress. Okay, that's looking good. Wood. This is the same wood as, that's off the same block of wood as the piece you saw up here earlier. This one's just all oiled and waxed. Let's start working on the tenon. Okay, there's my tenon. Okay, now I can start finalizing the shape on the bottom. Notice that I don't grab onto the piece of wood to try to slow it down. There's a reason for that. Okay, that looks like that'll work fine. Now let's go back up to the front and try to connect these 3 points. I'm sorry, I am speeding it up just a little bit. One. This is where we have to sneak up and just get right to the points. We have about a 1/16 of an inch left. I hate when that happens. One more cut. Let's see if this isn't one too many. We now have 3 points. We're in good shape there. That convex looks pretty good. All right. Let's see if we can get this off the lathe and onto a chuck. To do that, I use the Outback parting tool. And I turn this down at the bottom of the tenon. So the body is rough shaped. Huh? Is it Burgle? No, it's Norwegian maple. Got it years and years ago from a guy down Virginia Beach area. And it's sitting in my shop probably 10 years. And I've tripped over it. And you know how it is. I was going to do a large piece out of it, but it was so many voids. So I ended up cutting it up for these rockabye boxes. Glad I did. Really does the boxes justice. Huh? I made up a batch of the little minis and actually made a baker's dozen of the things. And it's probably, I don't do them all the time, once every couple of years. And it came up, I've had none for the past couple of years. But I used a nice oak, spalted oak burl on all those. So I've got like an egg carton inside the box there. It's got all 12 of them that I have left in there with all the nice burl on it or spalting. All right, back to the parting tool. I'm going to get rid of this nub here. Turn this by hand, make sure it doesn't hit the tool rest. I'm going to follow through this cut. remember to put the point back in your live center so you have it for later. So easy to get it lost in the chips. I'm going to bore a 5/8 hole in here for the hollowing. I want to check and make sure that I'm not going to make a napkin ring out of this. I have a series of marks on here from different boxes that I've done. So now that I put the drill bit down, I lost the mark. This is something I don't want to guess at. Because I've already got a little bit of work into this. Huh? 5/8 on this size box. If you did 5/8 on those little ones, you wouldn't have anything left. I think those are a 1/4 inch. Is that deep enough, Jerry? Okay. You didn't see the bit come out the other side? Okay, let's get set up for hollowing this. I want to do a fairly quick job of hollowing. I talked to a gentleman outside at break, and hollowing is not a fun thing to watch because you can't see what's going on, but it's a necessary thing that has to be done. So I'm going to make a quick as I can job of this. I know you can't see anything, but in all fairness, I can't see anything either. It's all by feel on the inside of these. I asked Brian over and over again before coming up here, could he please have an air compressor set up for me to do the hollowing? And I don't know how many times I asked him. And he just said flat out, no. That's just the way he is. So, Peter, I'm talking right now to these nice people, okay? I really don't appreciate you interrupting. I know it's your shop and everything, but just be quiet, okay? Thank you very much. So back to the important thing. I had to haul my own compressor all the way up here, and I thought to myself, you know, I'm just bringing my portable compressor with me today. And here's my portable compressor. Okay? This has 2 modes, inhale and exhale. I'm going to be demonstrating the exhale mode on this to clean the chips out of here. Exhale. I don't need any extra fiber. Okay, so we bored it out 5/8. This tool is in the straight mode right now. I'm going to go in about an 1/8 inch, leave it straight in an 1/8 inch, and then start hollowing it out. 7/30. Okay, on the bottom with that bit that I used, it had a brad point on it, so it left a little dimple. So I have to go a little deeper. I'm hooking onto that now. We'll clean it out. You know, I really try to give it my all at these demonstrations. And if they ask for it, I asked for a volunteer to come up and show them. That never happened. So, okay, it looks like I got that dimple out of there. So now I need to come in and start hollowing out the back. So, since this tool is called the adjuster, I am going to loosen that bolt, turn my cutter, lock it into position, so that I can reach in and get a little deeper on these sides. I'm about 8 o'clock right now on the clock here. Stop off and clean out. Those chips can bundle up in there and cause you to have a catch. Like that. What happened there is me not paying attention and having the cutter start cutting prematurely. Pardon me? About 8 o'clock. Always stop your machine before putting your finger inside. Okay. I think I'm going to go a little bit deeper with this and transition out that bottom and clean it up. If I can find my wrench. I know it looks like I'm looking at it, but I'm really just feeling that cutter in there. Okay, that feels pretty good. Looks pretty good. We're going to call the inside done. Now I just drilled that, so that hole is not running absolutely true. So I like to use a 1/4-inch round skew. And with a long point, I'm going to go straight in. The reason I like to use a round skew is when my long point goes in, the back of the shaft of the skew is actually my bevel through here and burnishing the inside there. I'm taking the tiniest little cut there. On the inside where the skew went through, I just round that just a little bit. So in case somebody puts their finger in there, it's not going to be a sharp edge for them. Okay, if that feels good. Okay, let's talk a minute about sanding. You can sand part of this while the lathe is running, but you have to sand the solid part of the wood. Don't come all the way out. If you do, you're going to round over all these edges that you took your time with, hopefully, to get nice crisp edges. So right now I'm on the solid part of the wood. I'll do the same thing on the bottom when we reverse turn this. I do not sand the inside of the lid area. Now if you're sanding and your finger starts hurting because it's getting hot, one of two things is going on. One, you may be turning at a too fast a speed. Number two, you're applying too much pressure. Actually, and number three, you have a dull piece of sandpaper. So if it's dull, get a new piece. If it's running too fast, slow it down. One of the things about the Rockabye box, and that is the name Rockabye box came after the box. When I make these this size, I use a loose-fitting lid. And when you rock this on the table, you can hear the box going tick-tock, tick-tock. That's why the name came afterwards, Rockabye. On the large ones, 5 and 6 inch diameter, usually they'll have threaded lids and a lot of pyrography work done to it. And these flats, just sand them by hand. Just watch that you don't round over your points. Pardon me? You can make this into a candle holder, but no, they don't use them. Not the boxes. But yeah, the shape can be incorporated in there, yeah. As long as they're the type of people that don't burn the candle at both ends. Okay, we're going to call that good for sanding on that. We are now done everything here. We need to reverse turn the bottom. This may have been the fastest I've ever made one of these things. That being said, are we still getting the steps okay that I'm doing? Kind of, it's been like a build-up all day of tool use to get to this guy. The sphere is certainly helpful because we have a spherical shape on the bottom of this. Okay, I am making a jam chuck. So I measure my opening. As a rule of thumb, I usually make it a little larger so I can sneak up on a fit. I'm going to clean this face up. Okay, it just barely starts. That's where I want it. Let's take another cut. Not much. See what I mean about not much? what we want to do is have a tight fit and have it seating right up against our jam chuck. Okay, that looks good. I need to get rid of that little nub there because I want support from my tailstock and live center, but also I wanted to show you a little trick. If that were tight on there and stuff, but you were like, I wish it were just a little tighter. Well, if you use some tung oil on this tenon here, that would raise the fibers a wee bit and have a better grip on there. But you need to use a good quality tung oil. Yeah, I had a good lunch, so it's good tung oil. I'll never forget the first time my wife was in one of my demonstrations and saw that. It was being videoed for the club, and she was in the back talking to a friend of hers, and she looked up and saw me do that. All you could hear, everything was silent. All you can hear was, "Oh my God! Did you just do that?" So since it was videotaped, they sent me a copy of it. And for a couple reasons. One, it's not that I like watching myself, is I study the demos and to try to see if there's anywhere through the demos I can make the demos a little bit better and more interesting. So it's actually a tool for me. And I was playing it in the living room and she was in the kitchen and it got to that part and I cranked that volume up. You talk about getting a look. I got the look. All right. Now ride my bevel, which is pressing this toward the headstock. So I can get that little nub off of there. Want to use the live center for support, and I usually put a block of wood or something on there. Lately I've been using golf balls, and I'll slip the golf ball over here and apply pressure in. I like using either wood or the golf ball because I can get closer and closer here without having any worry of hitting the metal chuck. Yeah, I was somewhere up in PA last week. Guy said, "And does that affect your putting?" And I said, "No, I got a hole in one." He was not expecting. He wasn't expecting that answer. All right, we got to finish the bottom here in a spherical shape. Back to the spindle gouge. Since I have support with that live center, I can be a little more aggressive with my cuts. I'm now looking over top at the shape I'm creating. It is a very important part of these rockabye with the shaping. If I made the box too tall, right now this is a very pleasant shape proportion-wise to me. If I made this bottom taller on here, yeah, I might see a little bit more pretty wood. But when you put it on a table and you rocked it, it would rock erratically. So the taller it is, it just looks way out of balance. And I like a nice soft rock. So I'm looking at that as I'm coming around here with my cut to make sure it's not too tall. Also, I don't want to, go through where we hauled it. but I think that shape is going to work for us. We just need to get rid of the little nub at the end, sand it up a little, and we'll get on to making a lid. Is that some good tongue oil or what? Okay. Tiny bit of power sanding. Again, only where the solid wood is. Working up towards the point. Always do it by hand. Watch what you're doing. You can even sand past there very quickly. And when this piece is all put together, it's probably a 2 cup of coffee, hour and a half or so on the back porch, sanding this guy. And with a pretty piece of wood like that, it's worth every minute of it when you're finished up. When you put the oil on this thing here, it just jumps out at you. The box I showed you and the little guys, I finished those with Watco's oil, Danish oil, natural. It's got 3 coats of oil and then waxed. And hopefully we have a decent rocker here. Now sometimes when you get into this wood here, and it's burl, it's spalted, it's a little doty, sometimes it could be off balance, and you may have to do a little bit of creative sanding on the bottom of it to compensate for the weight differential. And we'll see what we got on this one here. Oh, yep. So what we have is a little heavy on one side, and that's where the burl is. You can see that on the bottom. So it's heavier here than it is here, so it's dropping it down. So that means we're just going to have to take off a little bit of wood off the bottom with our finish sanding, which is no big deal. You'll never notice it just looking at it with the naked eye. So, and I'll do that later. Because we still have a lid, and do y'all want to do the finial? You want to see the finial? Jerry, you sure? Okay. Okay. Huh? You get no breaks. Obviously. Obviously. Maybe that's why I haven't been back since 2008. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah. I'm going to put in a piece of black wood. Nice contrast to this piece. I'm going to make the inside of the lid first, which means I'm going to be turning a tenon. On here to fit the box. So we'll set up our calipers to exact measurement and leave it there, because I'm going to turn it down just a little bit less so it will slide and give us that rockabye sound. 90 shoulder. I'm going to make sure that it's loose enough and it's still a little tight so I wouldn't get that tick-tock noise. Now the problem when I do those loose-fitting lids, people pick up the box. Oh, that's nice. Let's look at the bottom. And the finial comes out. And they are fragile and they will break. I didn't get all the chips out of there. Okay, we've got the knocking in there, so that's good. I just need to clean up the bottom of this. With the side of the spindle gouge, I'm just doing a slight concave shape to the bottom. Round over the leading edge. With the long point of the skew, just putting a couple detail marks on the bottom. Okay, everything looks good. Now we need to part this off. Back to the Outback parting tool. The top of this lid, I want convex. So I'm trying to shape that as I'm coming around with the parting tool. And we'll go ahead and finish parting this off. By doing this with the parting tool, it saves me a little bit of time when I reverse chuck this. I've probably still got 2 or 3 lids left in this little block of wood for later boxes. Now we're going to put in the collet chuck that we made earlier. I'm not going to jinx myself, but it looks like we may finish on time. This is a record. It helps when you don't have to explain every little step that you're doing. That sort of takes up a little bit of time. Okay, I'm going to measure exact opening. With one ear of the calipers, I'm going to mark our jig. There's the diameter of that tenon. With the round skew, I'm going to go ahead and hollow that out. And we're going to sneak up on the fit. Really easy to go too far because you're not taking off very much wood. When I make up these blanks for the demos and stuff, they're sliced on a bandsaw, so they're not really running true on the face. So I need to true that up. That's a little tight. A lot of wood turning nightmares today. One more cuts. Looks like two more cuts. Good. Okay, now when you tighten up your jaws, that saw curve that I have in there is going to tighten around that tenon to hold that tiny little lid in there, and you can finish the top. Okay, so I'm going to come in here with the skew at about 45 degrees, and I'm going to shear cut the face of this. Very light cuts. Since I did most of the shaping with my parting tool, I don't have much to do with the skew here. With the long point of the skew, I'm going to mark center and put a dimple in here. And that is so I can drill an 1/8 inch hole. About an 1/8 inch deep, so we can glue in our finial after we make it. So I have a little pin chuck and an 1/8 inch drill bit. Go in approximately an 1/8 inch. The cuts were nice and clean on there. I'm just going to start with a piece of 320 or 400, whatever it is, and just touch it up. And it's kind of a neat little chuck just to hold little items. I use it for a lot of different things at home. And as I said earlier, this collet chuck can be used over and over again, not just for this one little piece. So now we have a nice little lid, nice little bottom on it. And it's a little loose, so you're going to have that sound out of it. Just hard to pick up, so we're going to make a little finial to go on top of it. And this is a piece of boxwood. Anybody still awake? I'm going to turn a 1/2 inch tenon on this. About a 1/2 inch in also. Excuse me. Be right with you. There it is. For some reason, I found my little inner tubes out on the other end of the table there. I like to keep all that stuff together. All right. This tenon is going to fit inside the hole that we drilled for the eccentric chuck. Now when I come Okay, it just starts. So now we sneak up on our fit. I want a tight fit, but if it's too tight, then I'm going to split the chuck, and I don't want that to happen either. So we're almost halfway on. Don't forget about your homework. You got to turn that coffee scoop. I think that's why a few people left early, so they can go get started on it. All right, one more cut, and we're going to call it good. I'm just afraid that's a little too much. I'm going to make one more cut at this stage of the game. Okay, let's take that out of our chuck here. Open up our jaws, and we're going to put it on the eccentric tenon, the second one that we did on this. And we're going to, or at least for me, have a little bit of revenge. I don't know if you did, but when I started turning, they wanted me to practice coves, practice beads, beads, coves, beads, coves, coves, beads, which is a skill that needs to be developed. But it gets boring after that. Well, this is my revenge. I'm going to turn half a cove, then I'm going to turn half a bead. And it's going to pay off for all those coves and beads that I did years ago to learn how to do them. So we're going to tap that into. When I flattened that chuck in the face, well, when I put that tenon on, that gave me a shoulder. Now the shoulder is right up against that flat. So now I have all sorts. Bring our tool rest up. And we're going to see where our new center is now. Okay, you can see that our center is almost out to the edge here. That's why I only moved the chuck an 1/8 inch off center. If I went 3/16, you wouldn't see that pencil line there. It would just be air there. And I knew that was the size finial that I was going to use. So, first things first, I'm going to do half a cove. Use the small roughing gouge. I have to move my, because I'll need my finger to support the cut. I'm going to take this down to diameter. There we go. Right. Jerry, does that look about a 16th? There is my half a cove. Now I'm going to turn half a bead, but before I do that, I'm going to switch this back to the first tenon, the one that is actually running center. And instead of a roughing gouge, I'm going to use a spindle gouge. And as I turn this on, you should be able to see the shape through the shadows. So, half a bead. With just a couple cuts on that half a bead, you'll see that we have a nice off-center piece created. Now it's a little large for proportion-wise for this, so I'm going to take it down a little bit more. We'll get it in proportion size here before we make a tenon for the lid. That should be good. That'll work. Now, tenon on here to fit in that 1/8 inch hole that we drew. Make some room to get our parting tool in here. Table knife. Take that down to the correct diameter. Now, I've been pretty honest with you all day. I want you to be honest with me. How many are actually going to go home and look in your silverware drawer for a knife that doesn't match? There you go. Just make sure it's stout. Okay, once you have that, go ahead and part it off. My gosh, I think we pulled it off. It is right at 4 o'clock, and I am almost done. I'm just taking and doing a little scrape with my knife to get a better fit on that tenon. Although these are glued in later after they're all sanded up. We're going to do a little pyrography work to this. And there you have a quick version of the Rockabye box. So, that was record time on that. That will seat down in there all the way when it's sanded up and ready to go. I want to thank you guys for having me up here today. It has been a blast. You pushed me. I like that. And we had a few laughs to boot. So thank you again for the club inviting me up here. Peter, thank you for letting us use your shop.